This conference will now be recorded.
Yesterday we discussed about these things, right? Like what are the, softwares that will be available, like Universal Forwarder as well as the Enterprise Linux software. So today, right, we'll be discussing on installation of the same. Okay, so currently, right, we'll go to this Splunk Enterprise software. Okay, let me give me a second. I will open some machines. I have some machines in cloud, so I will be opening this. Okay, this machine already have some Linux in, this Splunk installed. Okay, this is the Splunk. So first I will destroy this, I will uninstall this and I will install newly. Okay. So in order to do that, right, first all the installation we will be doing in the cd/opt. So Splunk in Linux, Splunk installation will be done here. So this is the installation directory cd/splunk/bin. Currently, as the instance is running, I have to stop it. So when I show ./Splunk, it will stop the instance. So we'll be discussing on the installations of enterprise Linux in the Windows as well as the Linux, and we'll be discussing as per the course, right? So we'll be discussing this one. So now we are doing this one. We are installing the Splunk Linux. We are doing today the RPM based as well as the tar based. Okay. So for that, right, I want to destroy it. So currently I'm stopping the Splunk and then I have to delete this directory. Then I can't access the application. Just give me, it will take 1 or 2 minutes based on the data and how many apps you have, right? It will take some time, 2 or 3 minutes it will take. Yeah, now my Splunk is stopped. So I have to come off that from that directory and my current working directory is OPT. Hope you are able to see now. Then I can remove this directory completely. Okay, my Splunk is uninstalled. Just stop the service and we can remove the directory. It is a basically a tar based thing. Now we'll be installing through tar based or we'll install through RPM based installation. So for that, just a second. Yeah. So I want to first install this enterprise Linux. Okay, I will click this. Then it is going to this 8.2.5. Okay, for this right to download, I should log into this machine. Actually, what it will happen, right? First, it will directly it will show like what is the Win operating system. I am currently going for Linux. In that, I am selecting this RPM based. When I select a now, right, it will download a local copy in my system. But I am not interested in this local copy. What I will do, right here, there is one thing like download via command line using wget. Wget command is for downloading. Okay, so it will issue the command. It will show us the command where you can directly download the software instead of me copying to this local machine and then uploading to the Linux machine, right? By issuing this wget command, I can directly download it on my Linux server itself. Okay, just a copy paste. Now my package, that software package, enterprise Linux package is getting downloaded. It is around like 500 MB, I believe. So it is downloaded. Okay. Now if I want to install it, right, I can issue RPM, as it is like this RPM based installation will be done on Red Hat Linux, CentOS. Okay. IPN IVH. I have to issue this package name. That's it. IVH. Now the package is getting installed. But we will prefer using the tar based thing. So because like mostly it will be very flexible. Now you see the Splunk folder got created, right? Previously Splunk was folder is not there. We have only RH. Once this package is installed, we got this Splunk opt/Splunk folder created. cd/Splunk. Here we will be having all the configuration files and the bin directory and other directories. Now if I want to start, I have to go to /bin there I have to issue, this is the working directory. So what I have to do, that or dot slash Splunk hyphen. So I have to issue this command dot slash Splunk stat accept license. Okay. Then it will ask me the console username and password. It will be asking me to create the username and password. I am creating an admin. This will be used for the web interface. I give extra. I give one extra hyphen. That's the problem. Now it is getting installed. So when I install this one, right, indexer is getting installed. When I say Splunk, now I'm installing the indexer. So indexer will have that UI capability. Okay, but in production, right, you will be installing one more component called search head, which will be used for fetching the data. When I have installed only standalone server, it will be indexer itself we will use as a search head. Okay. Yesterday I was saying like there will be multiple components like indexer as well as the search head. Let's wait for 2 minutes. It will get installed. In production, right, like this, we'll be having a number of indexers, okay, which forms a cluster. Okay, just take a lot of time. So now it will open this web view. It will show you the like in localhost it is showing the port number, right? In the same way, it will give you the full URL which you want to access the Splunk. Okay, and the web interface runs on the 8000. Looks like it is taking a lot of time to come up. Okay. uh, we'll wait for next 2-3 minutes. Okay, if it doesn't come right, I will stop this and I will go with this one, tar based installation. That's why we'll be morely doing the tar based installation. Okay, else what we will do, right, I have one more machine, there will be doing the tar based installation. Okay, I'll take this 28 machine, let it come up. Normally I will use this for Splunk forwarder. I'm stopping this instance. Okay, the universal forward I'm stopping. Yeah, it came. Looks like there is some issue, it seems. So it is showing like web interface is not available. Okay, so what I will do, right, I will just check whether we are getting the interface. Okay, because the installation remains the same, but there is no issue with installation. There is some problem with the package or download. cd/opt hyphen qa. So if I want to remove the package, I have to issue this rpm-e. Then it will delete all the things that are related to it. Okay, all the files. Same r-rf. I'm deleting this rpm also. Okay, if I want to install this, actually in class or in prod, they will be going with only the star-based installation. So if I go back, here there is something called as in Linux, there is something called as like tar.gz. I have to click on this one. We have to do the same process over here. Now it will start downloading the package. My package is downloaded. We have to use the textvf. Z is for unzipping this that ZZ file. X is for extraction. V for verbose. F for that forcefully. Okay. Now it will extract the tar file. In prod also mostly they will be using this tar based installation. They want to go with RPM based things. If something doesn't work, what they will do, right, they will back up the configuration files which are required and they will stop and delete the instance. For RPM based, right, there will be like a Red Hat, that is a Red Hat package management. So there will maybe dependencies or something, but here it is a straightforward. Okay, the same process. I have to go to the bin. This is my directory. Then I have to issue Splunk start accept license. I will give the username. I'm giving admin. See, it is very fast, right, than RPM based installation. Yeah, this is the server, this is the URL which I want to access, the Splunk UI. Okay, the same URL. It means, so I have logged into this machine. Okay, clear till now?
Yeah, yes.
So that RPM based thing, right? Why it failed, I am not sure, because these machines are present in the cloud actually. Okay,
Okay.
so this is the message board. Okay, where it will display the, for administrator it will display if there is any maintenance or something like that. And this is the search and reporting app where we'll be writing the queries. We have to go to this one. Can you go on mute? I'm getting some noise. Yeah, clear. So there are two ways of getting the data. One is like I have to, oh, oh, one second. So I can get the data from the source. Like if I have another Linux machine, no, here I have one more Linux machine which I told I will be installing some, which I will be using for universal forwarder. One way is like I can get the data from that source systems. Okay, it can be in my source system where my desktop in my source system which has some operating system and some application running, right there I will be installing my universal forwarder. That is one way. And second way is the like we can directly upload a file. Let us assume like if you have some logs that are for practice purpose and all those, right? So Splunk itself will provide some sample data on which we can do some practice. Okay, that is a file upload. I'll be providing those files. Just give me a second. I will get that file. So actually in Splunk Docs itself, they will be providing one tutorials data. Download the tutorials data. This is from the Splunk site only. There they will be mentioning like tutorial data.zip as well as some prices.csv. These two things will be used. Okay, I'm just downloading that file. Okay, just give me a second. This is from where we will get this data. I will provide these links. Just put it somewhere. So basically what we will do, right, we will upload these files. Okay, users. have copied them. Okay, so I have copied these two files. So what I will do, right, I will just upload those stuff. Okay, I will do a refresh. So if I want to get the data into Splunk, what I have to do, right, I have to go to this settings, add data. There will be separate UI where you will find an option to upload the data. So upload my files from computer. Okay, so I am manually uploading the file. Where I have to browse the file. Just a second. I will select that file and open. I'll do a screenshot. Hope you are able to see, right? Here now, okay. First I will extract this file, okay. Whenever I extract this file, there will be some sample logs. Okay, there will be like one www1, 2, 3, and mail server data and vendor sales. So I'm going to this access log. Okay, so this is the access log which I'm going to upload. This is basically a Tomcat log or something. Okay, now we will discuss, like, now I have selected the file and I have clicked next. Now there is something called as source types. So okay, I will discuss here. Okay, so we have to remember these things. We have to remember, we should understand what is source. Source is the, like, file name. It can be the whatever the log which you are shipping. It can, if you are shipping some your Tomcat log dot, right, then it will be like access.log or whatever. And if you are having some application A, and for that, right, you will be shipping a.log. Okay, for application B, or in that you have something like b.log. This is called as source. There is one more thing called as source type. Basically these are all the metadata. So what type of data which we are ingesting into the Splunk? Source type is what type of data. Okay, the source type can be like DB logs, or it can be like Tomcat logs, or it can be like a network, or it can be router, or it can be CSV, or it can be something like JBoss. Because each and file will have some pattern. You can't expect the Splunk, what it will do, right, it will recognize every log will have some pattern, right, like one standard of creating the logs, no. So Splunk has intelligence. If it is a particular type of log, it will know, like, I will be getting my, in some text, or my time will be coming first. Okay, something like that. Or if you get some status code, right, it will be displayed here. Okay, the status code, if you are getting post transaction, right, transaction, how it will be time, action, or like action in the sense it can be get request or post request, then you will be having something called response code now. So what Splunk will do, right, and each and every log will be having different pattern of displaying it, right? Based on the type source type, right, Splunk will recognize, okay, I have this response time over here, so I can create a field out of it, something like that. Okay, now you, and there will be one more thing called as host. Host is nothing but the source machine instance name, IP. Clear? If you are not clear, stop me. Else
Yeah, it's fine.
So this is the source type basically. So my source is access.log. Here when I check and by default it is displaying the combined access combined W cookie. Okay, but here if you see, right, there are multiple types of, if I consider one, if I select one application, give me a second. If I select one application, here it is showing me like Catalina or log4j. It is giving me different type. It is asking me like what type of log it is, like what is the source type. Here if I click database, it is showing like MySQL or DB2. If it is a log metrics, or it is a metrics, or it is a miscellaneous things, so it will be basically asking me to categorize that log. Or it is a WebSphere. If you see here, right, you are seeing WebSphere over here, no? WebSphere core, WebSphere activity log, Ruby log. So these are the different types of application logs that are available. So I don't want to change anything. So what I will do, right, I'll go with the default options. Okay, and it will show you a preview of the sample logs, whatever that are getting created. Okay, so these are the log snippets. Now this is the input settings. Okay, actually in this input settings, it will get the host name out of that field. Okay, and as I mentioned priorly, right, its data will be stored in index. Okay, so for this, right, I will be creating a new index. For that, right, there will be some default indexes that will be present. I will show those things, but now I will be creating one new index. I am creating something like app1 is my new index. This cold path and these things, right, this is like a admin side. Okay, I will discuss later. Okay, this is the app1. Okay, I've created one index called app1 and I am clicking next. So it will give you like what is my input type. My input type is a uploaded file, and my file name is access log. My source type is this one, and my host is whatever, VMI something. Okay, and my index is app1. Then I will click submit. Now what will happen, right? The file will get uploaded and I can click on this start search. See, now if we see here, whatever we are getting here, right, each snippet or like there is a mapping between the, okay, one second, I will show. I had one PPT. I will show that one. Yeah. So there is something called a search bar. Search bar is a UI. This is something here. Okay. This is the search bar where we will write the query to execute the search. Okay. This is the search bar, and there is something called as event. Event is something like log instance which is mapped to a timestamp. Let us assume this is the actual log, this is the actual raw data that is being generated from your application. Okay, this is the raw data. For that, right, while getting the data into the Splunk will have add some timestamp. So this timestamp won't be generated in your log. Okay, whenever it is getting created, you will have this log. If you have, you will have this one. Okay, but Splunk will add while indexing, right? Whenever it is fetching, it will add this timestamp associated with it. Okay, and it will add some metadata called what is the host name, what is the source type, and what is the I mean like source and source type. Okay, now I will show one thing. See this access log dot log, whatever I have uploaded. If I open it, see, first I am getting the IP, second I am getting the timestamp, and third I am getting the HTTP method. Post that there is some URL and status code and all those. Okay, first we are getting the IP as well as this one, right? And the size is 4 point something, 4 MB, the size of that file. Okay, now what I will do, right? First I will show in UI. So this is the actual, this is your snippet, no? That's what I'm showing. This is a snippet which got which is generated in your application logs. For that, Splunk has added this one. In my UI, right, it is showing like 4 MB. The file size is 4 MB. CD slash op. If I go to that indexer, now what will happen, right? It will, I can check what is the size it has taken. CD opt. One second. CD dot CD system. So what I was trying to show, right? It is my 66 only. Yeah. CD CD pair CD. So this is the app one which index I have created. No, actually Splunk will create these indexes in this particular directory. Okay, opt Splunk var lib Splunk. Here I have created one app one as an index, due to which one directory got created over here. Okay, and there are some other directories such like dot metrics and all those, right? These are also the indexes, but these are the default indexes. So if I go to my CD app1, what is going to happen, right? Du-h will give me the disk space consumed. So my, if I see here, my file size is 4 MB, correct? Here my file size is 4 MB, but when I upload the data, right, the data is only 2.4 MB. So it has reduced to some 40 to 50%. So Splunk has some predefined algorithms and compression methods such that if I get some 1000 GB data, right, on disk, it will apply some algorithms and compression, proprietary compression mechanisms, such that my data would be only 500 GB. So that will reduce the like operational cost or the storage cost. Okay. Now, if I go to the settings and if I go to the indexes, here this is like underscore audit. If I go here, right, there is something called as underscore audit over here, no? Audit, KV metrics, okay? Audit is here, right? Here you will have underscore internal. There will be something called as underscore internal or internal. What is this? Or metrics is there, right? Here we have metrics, no? So it will be creating some indexes over here. Okay. Now we will go to the UI. If I want to actually, this is the search bar. Okay. Here there will be something called manage apps and find apps. We will be discussing this one later. For now, right, what we'll be doing, right, we will analyze this dashboard. So there is something called a search bar, where we will index, we will put the, we will write the Splunk queries in this indexer, and there is a something called as time picker. This time picker will give you like from which which data you want. Actually, I want something called like all data I want. Okay, whatever is present in the Splunk, it will be displayed like this. Let us assume, right, if I have a running logs, then I can monitor for last 15 minutes or last 60 minutes or last 4 hours. Okay, this is called as like normal. And there is something called as real time, where we can directly select this 5 minutes window, means live 5 minutes window data you will be getting. I will be showing this real time when we are doing that real time monitoring. Okay, there is something called as like, if I want to, I'm running one test, I want to monitor the last 3 minutes data or last 5 minutes data, then I can put it as earliest 5 minutes or like earliest 1 hour or something, and put I can save. Then I will be getting only the last 5 minutes of the data. It is basically for selecting, but mostly, right, we'll be using this one if we are running some test or something, right? It will have some start time. Once the test is finished, we'll be selecting the date and time, and we'll be giving the start time and the end time in date and time, and we'll be giving apply. Then it will give me the logs. For now, what I will be selecting, right, I will be selecting the all time. If I have like let us assume, like if I want to monitor the last month data, I can directly click on this month. Okay, now I am selecting all the data. So we will analyze what is events. Events are the count of the snippets of the logs which are associated with the timestamps. Okay, if my log has some 100 lines of log, then my events will be like 100. In this current log, I have like 13k logs. Okay, and there is one more thing called as patterns. Patterns will give the most occurrences. It will be used in the big data. We won't use it, but it will display. So it is having this kind of data. Okay, get old link item. Okay, that is like 20% of my logs are having this pattern. There is something called as smaller and larger. Based on that one, right, we'll be using only the big data people will be using this stuff. Okay, 29%. If I want small granularity, means like most of the logs, then I can select a smaller, so it will be displaying like a more granularity. One second. Okay, so 0.5% of my logs are related to success, okay, and 2.9% are related to some other thing, okay. Like that it will give me the smaller, larger, and patterns, okay. Now we'll discuss on the stats, and whenever we write queries, right, we'll be getting the data in the stats and in visualization. Okay, I have prepared the slide for this actually yesterday. Yeah. So this time picker which I have showed is selects the time, and patterns gives the occurrences of the similar log snippets, and stats and visualization, right, we'll see it later whenever we execute query, right, then these things will come, stats and visualizations. Okay, and if I go to this one, right, if I see this UI, this is the, so this is called a search bar. Okay, then you have to remember only this time picker, these are only important, rest all are like just for information purpose only. Now we'll go to this UI. Okay, now I have something called as analytics, which I am not going to explain much because I have never used this analytics and data sets. And there is something called as reports. So Splunk provides some reports, like let us assume like you want to send like some reports like errors in last 24 hours. So we can schedule the reports such that a mail will be sent to your inbox every 24 hours on the errors that are happened. And this will be used by performance testers and the support or ops guys. And there is one more feature called as alerts. In alerts, right, there will be some two types of monitoring, we'll discuss this later. Alerts are something like if I get any abnormal behavior, like if I get my there will be an SLA, right, like I should not get any errors within 1 hour, but in 2 hours I can get 1 or 2 errors, that should be fine. If I get in 1 hour, if I get more than 5 errors, right, then I can send an alert or a mail to the appropriate teams. And there will be one more thing called as the dashboard, where we'll be creating the dashboards. Okay, tomorrow we'll be discussing on this dashboards thing. Once we write the queries, we will add the dashboards over here. Okay, now we'll go to the search bar, we'll look into these fields. Actually field is nothing but a key value pair. Okay, so what Splunk will do, right, let us assume like I have deployed my application, I have installed my universal forwarder in my Apache log. So I asked it to parse some access.log. So Splunk, what it will do, right? Here you see, if I give index is equal to app1, just to monitor these logs. Then I will tell you the essence of the source type also. Here if you see, it is IP, this is the time, and it is the method, and this is some endpoint. If you see the action, right, it is a key value pair. Action is my name and the value is add to cart. Item ID is my field and EST or something, right? It is the value associated with it. So product is this one, and we have a value over here. Okay. If you take something like JSession ID, so it is also a key value pair. Field is JSession ID, value is this one. These kind of things, right, while parsing the log itself, Splunk will create these fields. Okay, these are added by default. We'll be getting the host, source type, source and source type. These three things we have defined while adding the log, correct? So these will be coming in the selected fields, whereas the ones which we have, the ones which Splunk parsed, right, See here, there are 5 types of actions. Okay, and it is having some, there is one more URL called as, sorry, status. If you see this status, there are like 200, which count is like 11,000, and 503 count is 324, something like that. Here, where is my error code? Here you see this 200, right? Is it a key value pair? No, right? There is no key value pair. It is just displaying the error code, right? Sorry, the status code. No, here also it is displaying the status code. What I told, if we have a key and value, then Splunk will recognize the data. But here, if you see, I am getting the status, right? I am getting the status, but there is no key value pair, because based on the source type, this happens based on the source type. There I have selected the source type as some default W cookie, right? So based on that, Splunk will recognize, okay, at this after this HTTP version, I will be getting the status code. Okay, and then Splunk will add for this one HTTP method get. Okay, there is no, it is not a key value pair, but in my Splunk there will be something called as method. See, get and post is there, right? Because Splunk will, based on the category of the log, whether it is a DB log or access log or a like a MySQL log or Oracle log, right? Splunk will recognize the content or the pattern. But here you see there is some 220. It is the response time. Let us assume like this is the response time. After error code, the status code, I am getting response time. Here I am not getting this one, right? There is no response time associated with it. For these kinds of values, we have to extract those values. Okay, whatever the Splunk didn't recognize, whether it can be like response time or some URL or whatever, or IP address. Okay, these things we have to write queries, or like we have to extract the fields. That is the job of a Splunk developer. Clear till now? Any confusion?
Yeah, fine now.
Okay, so we'll go with this one. So there we'll walk through like 5-10 minutes. We'll have a walkthrough on the UI. So these things, right? If I write a query, right, or I will be selecting. I want to select the purchase. Okay, then it added this Splunk. Splunk has added the query, and I will be giving. So we'll discuss about this one in future. Okay, just I want to show you the stats and that UIs. So now it showed me that, right, whenever I wrote the query which yields to some output, right, then it will give me the count. The statistics will work. Okay, till then, right, if I search the events normally, you won't get the data. Now I had some around like 2000 events, which are out of 13k, 2000 are related to action is equal to purchase. If I click on visualization, I will go through this one. We have 3 or 4 days or 5 days for only this. 3 days we are having only for this one. I will select it as a single value. Okay, don't think what is, but this visualizations you just understand. Here I showed the value as a count in my stats. Now I am showing it in my visualization. This visualization is based on like different things, like on what are the type of data which we extracted, and corresponding to that, right, we have to add the visualization. Okay, now we'll go back to the same thing. So we'll go back to the earlier screen, event screen. Now there are something called as no event sampling. Okay, if I enable the event sampling, what will happen, right? There are about 2000 events. It will take one sample, it will display me only one sample out of 10. So you will be getting around like 200. So it will be used in big data. Normally we will use, but there will be something like whenever they do in big data, right, they will be analyzing this system, right, trend, so if they were having some millions of records, they want to analyze one record of every 10,000 or 1 lakh transactions or something like that. From 1 lakh snippets they want to take one snippet. From every 10,000, right, they will take one snippet. Okay, I will remove this one as well. I will show one more example. It is basically used for big data. We won't use as a testers. There are around like app one. Okay, yeah, sorry. I was checking, it should be 13K or something. Okay. Now, if I select 100, right, I'll be getting some other number, 134. So Splunk has taken one sample out of 134, and on top of the thread, they will prepare some metric. Okay, let us assume like if you are taking some going for this surveys, right? They will be having some millions of records, right, in a survey, but they will select a random people or random snippets and they will conclude sampling. So that is called as this sampling. Okay, if I take one, you will get one or two logs. That's it. For us, we won't use any event sampling. As part of the course, it is there. Okay, and there is something called as like different modes. If I put the fast mode, right, if I do a search, you won't get these interesting fields. Okay, you see, whatever the Splunk, I told that Splunk will be creating some fields and all those, right? If I put as a fast mode, right, we won't get these interesting fields. Okay, we will only get the metadata, whatever that is getting here, right? That is the metadata. One is the host name, source type, and the index. These are all the metadata. Okay, now if I go and click on the smart mode, then it will fetch the fields. Okay, it will extract the fields and it will be displaying at the end. So why these fields are used, right? Based, because using these I can get the data, I can do my analysis. Let us assume I want to analyze only the actions whatever are here, right? Like what is my functionality? Let us assume like in my first sprint I have delivered this one, second sprint, third sprint, fourth sprint, fifth sprint. Then this actions field will give me like what are the features that I have delivered. Else if I want to check in my log, it will be like a nightmare. Okay, so when it comes to this one, this is the log. Okay, this is the fast mode. There won't be like much difference between verbose and this one. More normally, right, we will be using this smart mode only. We won't use verbose mode because it will pull all the events and all the field data as well. Okay, in this case, right, it won't pull the events. Okay, clear till now? So let us assume like there is, if we click on that particular timestamp, and there will be some options like extract fields or so show source. If I click on the show source, right, it will be displaying me the particular log. So if I want to send my developer anything, so I can send something like this. Let us assume like this is my failure. Okay, I have extracted some failure, then I can copy this and send to him. I can send a mail. Got it? They will be, if there is some stack trace or something, it will be displayed in the logs, right? So those events, like how you see in your logs or in your Windows or Linux machines, that will be that type of visualization will be present in this. Okay, event actions, show source. Okay, we'll be talking about this extract fields in a future class. Okay, till now clear? And there will be something like jobs, inspect and delete job. We will work on it later. And if I want to get the data of remove, if I want to download it in a CSV, right, I can use this export action and I can download it as a CSV or XML or JSON. Okay, this is also one more feature. Normal, or you can select as a raw events. If I select as a raw event, right, it will be displayed in the normal form. Okay, all the logs will be displayed in the normal form. Okay, clear? This is the Splunk UI. We will be discussing on this extract fields in the future sessions. So I think today we can stop. It's almost 1 hour.
Yeah, we'll go. Thank you.